There's no better grappler versus striker fight if you're just the underdog, die-hard type of fan, right? For me, the fact that Vincent Luque has only really lost to Steven Wonderboy Thompson and Leon Edwards is insane. I think he's one of the biggest unsung heroes in the UFC. 7 bonuses. The guy has been nothing but exciting as a fighter, and now he's going to get, kind of that UFC 265 main card, a lot of showcasing. He kind of took care of Tyron Woodley in a pretty easy way in his last fight. And I think this is going to be a great test, right? We have no idea to this day why we were watching Michael Chiesa try to make 155 outside of the Ultimate Fighter, but great showings, but, tough submission losses against some of the bigger names in the division. And I think that's where you're seeing Chiesa come into his own now at 170. The grappling performance against Neil Magny. The best part about that fight for me was watching Michael Chiesa beat Neil Magny at his own game, because Neil Magny was not tired at any point of that fight, but Chiesa just kept wearing on him, and he wasn't really allowing him to do as much damage on the feet as he wanted to. And that's where Chiesa looked like a completely new fighter in terms of being able to execute his game plan. And one of those game plans where it doesn't matter who you're fighting. If you can take punches and if you can push forward, you might have a chance at winning this fight against anybody. And I think that's what we're seeing from him now. You talk about how little this man gets punched. 1.71 strikes absorbed against some of the fights he's been in. The guy just likes to grapple, and it's fun to watch for me. I think that you look at a 65% takedown defense in a fighter, and that's a questionable number, right? Especially for Vincent Luque, who's now about to go into this upper echelon of fighters. I mean, Leon Edwards had a pretty fun time with that, and even in his tough showing, right? The last loss outside of those two, that was 7 takedowns, I think. So for me, it's just like, if there was an area where I'm curious to see how well Vincent Luque can do, it's the takedown defense, because I think that he's going to have a pretty respectable ground game, especially off of his back, training with Gilbert and Sanford and all that stuff. But Chiesa's main game plan here is to take your back and is to keep you on the ground and keep you in those clinch areas. And if he can do that against a Vincent Luque, that's a big deal, because Vincent Luque's number one way is to knock you the hell out. So I think this has fight of the night written all over it, only because these guys could very well go 3 rounds with one guy just trying to find that area to exploit his game as best as possible, right? I think that if you're able to keep Chiesa on his feet and fill him in the face for 3 rounds, this is going to be one of those fights that 1.71 strike absorbs number is about to go straight to the moon. But on the flip side, you talk about 65% takedown defense. I think Chiesa has the opportunity right here to make this, a 50% type fighter when it comes to takedowns. Luque is a beautiful Muay Thai fighter. He's got great BJJ, but this is a fight where it's going to be true wrestling, grappling, clinch work, that kind of style. And that's going to be what comes into play. And I think if Michael Chiesa is able to deal with that power, he has a really good chance of winning this fight. So I'm actually going to lean Michael Chiesa, because I think the path to victory here, in terms of just like being able to take a punch, he's proven that. It's just Vincent Luque, to me, has the most underrated power in the UFC. So I'm leaning Chiesa, not by much. I'm going to go with a -120 max. I think this could even be a pick'em. So let's take a look. Okay, so I was definitely way off with the opening line. Vincent Luque getting the respect that I hoped he would. -160 opener. But this is actually moving very much to a pick 'em. It looks like across the board, -115 or so for Luque, with Chiesa coming in as a +130 opener, and now looking at -105. So very close fight. Like I said, grappler versus striker, and pretty much the most underrated and improving best of the two, because Luque's striking game right now is, pound for pound, one of the best. And after Neil Magny, man, I'm just trying to think about anyone that looked that good in a pure grappling style MMA fight in the last little while. And it's really tough to think of that. So as for a pick, it's so tough to go against 2 of my guys that I absolutely love here, but I'm leaning Luque. I think he's going to be able to land some big shots that can put a lot of people on their back foot. I think that Chiesa can take a punch, but he can get slowed down. And I like Luque's energy. The only person to really kind of give him trouble on the feet was a Steven Wonderboy Thompson. And even Leon Edwards had to kind of take the fight to the ground a couple of times to kind of get his money's worth. So I'm going to go Luque on this one. I think that the opening line suggested one thing, and even though it's getting close to a pick'em, he's still the favorite, and Chiesa has just a lot more work to do to get away with this fight, and if it stays standing, Luque has to have the advantage.